Ready to step off the map from the most hidden alleyways to the stories nobody told you? Uncharted Alleyways begins now. Your definitive guide and travel podcast, culture, adventure, and the world as you've never heard it. Tune in, disconnect from the obvious, and come explore with us. Uncharted Alleyways, your next trip starts here.
Imagine, for just a second, trying to navigate this massive, 50-passenger tour bus down a country lane.
Oh, boy.
Right? A lane that was, designed in the 16th century for literally a single horse and cart.
Yeah, that sounds like a total nightmare.
It is. The stone walls are, practically scraping the paint off the sides of your bus. You've got this line of angry locals in their cars just trapped behind you.
Ringing on the horn, I'm sure.
Exactly. It's a complete and utter logistical nightmare. But what if that nightmare is actually kind of the greatest architectural defense mechanism ever accidentally invented?
I mean, that is a really fascinating way to look at it.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. Today, we're unpacking a really incredible transcript from episode 14 of the travel show Uncharted Alleyways.
Yeah, it's a great one.
And the mission today for you, the listener, is to figure out how to extract the maximum amount of joy from a destination by doing something most of us are honestly just terrible at.
Which is doing absolutely less.
Yes, doing less. We are dissecting the art of slow travel in the English countryside.
And it requires a pretty radical shift in your mental framework, honestly.
Oh.
Because the source material captures this so beautifully. It drops us into this landscape that outright rejects the modern, hyper-optimized itinerary we're all so used to.
Right, you can't just hack your way through it.
Exactly. You cannot hack your way through this part of the world. It physically forces you to submit to its pace.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because going from, the heavy Roman walls of York to a wildflower meadow in the Cotswolds, it isn't just a change of scenery.
No, not at all.
It's a completely different rule book. In the transcript, they've just come from the roaring, relentless energy of London, right?
Right, the hustle and bustle.
And they've navigated the very structured Georgian elegance of Bath and walked the towering medieval fortifications of York.
Which is all very monumental.
Yeah, it's this heavy history designed to make you feel small. And then suddenly the geometry of the world just completely changes.
It really does.
We leave the pavement behind, and we're surrounded by rolling hills, ancient hedgerows, and these incredibly warm, honey-colored stone cottages.
Yeah, it is a stark geographical pivot. But before we get lost in the romance of it, we really need to clarify what this region actually is.
Good point, yeah.
Because the Cotswolds, it's not a single town. It is certainly not a fenced-off heritage museum or a theme park built for tourists.
Right, it's not Disney World.
Exactly. It's a vast, living, breathing, geological region stretching across several different English counties.
Wow, yeah.
And its entire identity is dictated by the limestone beneath the soil, that famous Cotswold stone that gives every single building that golden, sunlit quality, even on a completely cloudy day.
Which is practically every day in England, let's be honest.
Fair point, yeah. But our focus today is analyzing how a traveler can trade that rushed, superficial postcard mentality for genuine, tactile discovery in a place like this.
Which means we first have to, tear down the illusion of that perfect postcard.
We really do.
Because we've all seen the photos on social media, right? You arrive chasing this highly specific, very manicured aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely.
The transcript zeroed in on two extremely famous villages that suffer from this exact phenomenon, which are Bibury and Castle Combe.
Right, two of the big ones.
Yeah, picture Bibury. It sits right alongside the River Combe. It features Arlington Row, which is this row of steeply pitched weavers' cottages built in the 1300s.
They're iconic.
It looks impossibly quaint. And then Castle Combe, further south, is basically the definitive visual anchor for the classic English village.
Yeah, it's what you picture when you close your eyes.
Exactly. There's an ancient church, a babbling brook, tiny stone houses with gardens just absolutely exploding with flowers.
And they are objectively stunning pieces of history. I mean, no one is denying that.
Well, for sure.
But the source material issues a very sharp warning here about the behavioral trap these visuals create. The trap is driving 2 hours to get there, walking up to Arlington Row, snapping your photograph, and immediately getting back in your car to drive to the next photogenic backdrop.
It's the travel equivalent of reading only the headline of an article and then confidently telling people you understand the entire geopolitical situation.
That is a perfect way to put it.
You've consumed the aesthetic, but you've entirely missed the narrative of the place. But I'll admit some confusion here, or at least I have to push back on this expectation a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
When a place looked so flawlessly preserved, so much like a literal movie set, how do you practically avoid treating it like one?
Yeah, that's the challenge.
The brain almost short circuits, wants to capture the image and just move on.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the antidote to that movie set illusion is actually forcing yourself to observe the completely mundane reality of the environment.
Huh, the mundane reality.
Yeah. If you put the camera down and stand still for 20 minutes, the illusion shatters, but in the best way possible. You notice that someone is, walking a golden retriever in the rain. You see teenagers waiting for a school bus.
Oh, right, because people actually live there.
Exactly. A delivery driver is trying to squeeze a van down a tiny lane to drop off groceries. These are functioning modern communities trapped inside 14th century architecture.
That is such a wild juxtaposition.
It is. The residents are living their actual lives, and they need their privacy, just like you do in your own neighborhood.
So it's really about changing the lens from, look at this pretty building to look at how people exist in this space.
Precisely. And the source advises a very intentional strategy to achieve this. They say, literally, walk away from the primary photo spots.
Just walk away.
Yes. Go down the quieter residential lanes, follow the river behind the town, look at how people tend their private gardens.
Oh, I love that.
But the most crucial mechanism they suggest is temporal. You have to arrive early.
Like, how early are we talking?
If you get there at 7 a.m., before the tour buses completely alter the social atmosphere, you get to witness the village waking up as a natural habitat.
Wow, yeah.
Rather than it functioning as a stage set for tourists.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And once you recognize that these are living habitats,
Yeah.
it completely reframes how the physical layout of these towns dictates human behavior.
Absolutely.
Let's look at Bourton-on-the-Water. The transcript notes it's often called one of the prettiest villages in England.
Very famous, yeah.
But let's look at the mechanics of why it feels that way.
Mm.
It's built around this incredibly shallow, slow-moving stretch of the River Windrush.
Right.
And the stone bridges connecting the two sides of the village are remarkably low to the water.
Yeah, the operative concept the source uses here is scale.
Scale.
Yeah, Bourton operates on a profoundly intimate human scale. When you look at the cathedrals in York or those sweeping crescents in Bath, the architecture is expansive.
So it's massive.
It pulls your eye upward and outward. But in Bourton, the architecture compresses the environment.
Okay, I see what you mean.
The river is shallow, the bridges are low, the storefronts are incredibly close to the water. Everything is brought down to a tactile, approachable level.
So what does this all mean? Think about your own travel habits for a second. We spend so much time in towering cities that make us feel like ants.
We really do.
But Bourton's physical layout, this concept of psychogeography, where the environment actively alters your mood, it acts almost like a physical deep breathing exercise.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Right. When the visual plane is lowered and compressed like that, your eye stops darting around. It tells your nervous system you are in a safe and closed space.
Yeah, it calms you down.
You couldn't rush through it even if you tried, because the architecture is quite literally lowering your heart rate.
But, and this is important, we shouldn't make the mistake of thinking every Cotswold town induces sleepiness.
True. They aren't all the same.
The built environment dictates the experience, but the environments vary wildly. The source deliberately contrasts Bourton with Stow-on-the-Wold.
Oh, right. Stow is very different.
Stow sits on a hill. It's one of the highest points in the region. Historically, it's a market town located at the intersection of several major trade routes.
Right. So geographically, it's exposed, it's elevated, and it's literally a crossroads.
Which means it has an entirely different utility today. It's not a quiet riverside retreat.
Right.
Stow has a massive, lively town square. It is packed with independent shops, high-end antique dealers, art galleries, and busy cafes.
It's buzzing.
Exactly. It has a distinctly elevated, bustling energy. It functions beautifully as a high-energy base camp.
So you don't go to Stow to sit quietly by a duck pond. You go there to buy a locally made wool blanket, grab an espresso, and plan your afternoon.
And that contrast is exactly the point. The overarching architecture of the Cotswolds dictates a slower human experience, but it's a highly varied one.
Right.
If Bourton is the exhale, Stow is the inhale.
Oh, that's good.
The mistake tourists make is trying to cram both the sleepy riverside and the bustling market town into a 2-hour window. The architecture demands that you let each specific location set your internal metronome.
Well, if these villages are intentionally setting a slower internal metronome, it completely negates the idea of rushing between them in a rental car.
It completely defeats the purpose.
Which leads us to a massive shift in how we approach the spaces between the towns. Because you're spending an hour browsing antiques in Stow, you physically shouldn't rush to the next destination.
Right.
And the best way to embrace that is on foot. This transitions perfectly into the region's incredible walking culture and the culinary anchors that, reward it.
And the source material is really emphatic on this point. The spaces between the villages are the primary attraction.
Yes.
The biggest failure of imagination is treating the countryside merely as the green blur outside your car window while you drive from Bibury to Bourton.
Such a waste.
It is. They strongly advocate utilizing the vast network of public footpaths. These are ancient rights-of-way that cut directly across private farms, ancient woodlands, and open meadows.
But, and I have to mention this, they also throw in a heavy dose of reality regarding the elements.
Oh, yes, the English weather.
You have to bring a proper rain jacket.
Yeah.
You absolutely need waterproof walking shoes. Because an idyllic blue sky English morning can turn into a sideways rain shower in about 14 seconds.
So true. But rather than seeing that weather as a ruined day, it's framed as an essential part of the experience. It provides the necessary contrast.
I'd argue it goes a step further than just contrast, actually. I think it's the toll you pay for the reward.
Okay, how so?
Well, picture yourself standing there, halfway across a muddy field, the wind is kicking up, your jacket is damp. It sounds a bit miserable, right?
A little bit, yeah.
But that mild, bracing friction is exactly what makes pushing open the heavy wooden door of a 400-year-old village pub feel like a religious experience.
Oh, I see exactly what you mean.
Because every single walking path in the Cotswolds eventually dumps you out in front of a pub.
It really does. And the rural pub is the great sociological equalizer in these communities. Plus, the culinary traditions detailed in the source are deeply tied to this landscape.
Right.
We aren't talking about formal Michelin-starred austerity here. We're talking about hearty, hyper-local comfort, menus that pivot heavily based on the season.
Oh my gosh, the transcript paints this incredible picture of the plowman's lunch.
Yes, a classic.
It's the ultimate utilitarian meal. Think thick slices of crusty bread, a massive wedge of sharp local cheddar, pickled onions, and maybe a rough-cut salad.
You're making me hungry.
I know, right? It's exactly what a farm worker would eat, and it is absolute perfection after 3 miles of walking. So I have to ask you listening right now, what stands out to you? The bracing countryside hike or the Sunday roast tradition?
Well, the true anchor of this culinary culture is definitely the Sunday roast. Securing a table at a local pub for a Sunday roast, featuring slow-roasted meats, root vegetables, Yorkshire puddings, and thick gravy, it's highlighted as a foundational British tradition.
It's massive.
It's not just a meal, it is a communal gathering that takes literally hours to consume and digest.
Speaking of taking hours to consume, the source also dives into the tradition of afternoon tea. And I want to look at the mechanics of this for a second.
Okay.
We all know the components, right? A pot of loose-leaf tea, warm scones, an absurd amount of clotted cream, strawberry jam, and those little crustless finger sandwiches.
Yeah.
But it's not really about the sugar intake, is it?
No, not at all. It's about structural downtime.
Structural downtime.
Yeah. Afternoon tea is a cultural institution that actively rebels against modern efficiency. You cannot optimize a clotted cream scone.
You definitely shouldn't try.
Right. You cannot eat it while walking. The ritual requires you to sit down at a table, pour from a teapot, assemble the scone, and converse. The food itself enforces the slow travel philosophy into your daily schedule.
I love that phrase, structural downtime. But of course, protecting these pristine walking paths and preserving the slow, communal nature of a Sunday roast means the environment itself has to aggressively resist being modernized.
It does.
And that brings us to the friction of the countryside. Visitors have to navigate some serious physical limitations.
Yeah, the source doesn't romanticize the logistics at all. They can be brutal if you aren't prepared.
Extremely brutal.
The roads connecting these villages are often single-track lanes flanked by high stone walls or thick hedges. They were engineered for livestock and carts, not modern SUVs.
No, definitely not.
You simply cannot drive quickly. You have to constantly anticipate oncoming traffic, and frequently you have to throw your car in reverse and back up a quarter mile to find a pullout so a local farmer on a tractor can pass you.
And then there is the parking situation.
Oh, the park.
Or more accurately, the absolute lack of it in the famous villages.
Mm.
The transcript is blunt, like there are no massive parking garages hidden behind the medieval churches.
None.
If the small visitor lot is full, it's full. Do not park on the grass. Do not block a resident's driveway so you can jump out for a selfie.
Please don't do that.
And if you think you can just outsmart it by relying on public transit, you'll find that buses outside the major market towns are incredibly infrequent.
Which heavily dictates accommodation strategies. The source suggests abandoning the idea of staying directly in the hyper-famous villages where you'll just fight for parking every single day.
Makes sense.
Instead, they recommend finding family-run bed and breakfasts situated just outside the major zones. You get better value, a more authentic connection with the hosts, and quiet evenings.
Yeah, or stay in a hub.
Right. Staying in a transit hub like Stow makes logistical movement way easier. Furthermore, if you are utilizing those public footpaths we mentioned earlier, there are strict rules of engagement.
Right, there's etiquette.
You must stay explicitly on the marked trail. You must close every gate behind you, and you must give livestock a wide berth.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you list all these hurdles, the terrifyingly narrow roads, the lack of parking apps, the buses that only run 3 times a day, the cows literally blocking your path.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's so easy to view them as systemic flaws. I mean, wouldn't these towns make a fortune if they just bulldozed a sheep paddock and built a massive paved parking lot for the tour buses? Why haven't they?
Because the friction isn't an accident. It is a vital filtration system.
Exactly. I look at these logistical headaches and I realize they are the Cotswolds' greatest defense mechanism.
Yes.
It's like a website that intentionally loads a little bit slower to filter out the bots and impatient users. If it were easy to drive a massive bus right up to the riverbank in Bourton, or if they widened the lanes to accommodate high-speed traffic, the magic of the region would evaporate overnight.
It would be ruined.
It would just become another paved-over amusement park.
This raises an important question about the modern psyche, really. We have been conditioned by technology to expect every experience to be seamless, instantly accessible, and entirely frictionless.
We want it now.
But the source material makes a really compelling argument that the beauty of the Cotswolds is inextricably linked to that friction. The region demands that you adapt to its limitations, rather than it adapting to your convenience.
That's powerful.
If you aren't willing to reverse down a muddy lane for a tractor, you haven't earned the quiet pint by the fire.
Wow, so true. So embracing that friction and letting go of our obsession with convenience leads to what the transcript labels its favorite Cotswold secret.
This is the best part.
And if you take nothing else away from this deep dive, take this. The ultimate secret to experiencing this region is to abandon your itinerary entirely.
The advice is stark in its simplicity. Pick one single village. Park your car or get off the bus and do not leave that village for the entire day.
Just stay put.
Do not try to see 3 other towns before dinner. Do not chase the next landmark.
It is so wildly counterintuitive to how we are taught to travel. We think we need to maximize the return on our expensive plane ticket.
Right. Checking off boxes.
But think about it. Village hopping, just to check names off a list, is the travel equivalent of doom scrolling on your phone.
That is exactly what it is.
You're just swiping to the next thing, seeking a 2-second dopamine hit from a pretty view, but your brain isn't actually absorbing any of it. Trying to ruthlessly maximize every minute of your schedule actually minimizes the emotional and psychological experience of being there.
It's the difference between seeing a place and actually inhabiting it.
Yes.
The source details exactly what inhabiting a village looks like. You wake up early and walk the immediate footpaths before anyone else is awake. You buy a newspaper or a snack at the local independent village shop.
Just normal stuff.
Right. You spend an hour browsing a secondhand bookstore without checking your watch. You eat a long, slow lunch. You sit by the river. And then the culmination of this hyper-local focus, watching the sunset.
The sensory details they use to describe the village at dusk are incredible. You've been outside all day, the temperature drops.
Getting chilly.
The sky turns this bruised purple and gold. You walk back toward the center of the village, and you can actually smell the wood smoke rising from the stone chimneys.
Oh, there is nothing like that smell.
It's the best.
Yeah.
The pub windows are throwing these warm, amber pools of light out onto the cobblestones. You push through the door, and there's a crackling fire. You hear the low hum of locals talking at the bar. You order a warm bowl of soup, a slice of heavy bread, a local ale.
Sounds perfect.
It's not glamorous. It's not an exclusive VIP experience. It is just profoundly, deeply comfortable.
And that comfort ushers in a phase of the Cotswolds that the itinerary-obsessed day trippers completely miss because they have all driven back to London, which is nightfall.
Oh, right, the night.
The transcript highlights the transition into night as a major psychological event. Because this is a protected rural area with no massive urban centers nearby, there is virtually no light pollution.
None at all.
The darkness is absolute. The stars have a clarity you simply cannot perceive in a city environment. The only illumination comes from sparse, old-fashioned street lamps casting shadows against ancient stone walls.
The source issues a specific challenge here, actually. Step outside your B&B at 11:00 p.m., stand in the lane, and just listen.
Which can be a shocking experience for a modern traveler. You are listening to the total, heavy absence of noise.
It's unsettling at first.
It really is. No sirens, no distant hum of a highway, no subway rumbling beneath your feet. For a traveler who has just spent a week navigating the relentless sensory overload of central London, that extraordinary silence is almost deafening at first. But the text argues that this silence is, in itself, a primary attraction.
It's a complete sensory reset for the nervous system. So as we pull all these threads together, the psychogeography of the low bridges, the structural downtime of afternoon tea, the architectural friction of the roads, and the absolute silence of the night, what is the core philosophy we're actually extracting from this source? We started in York, surrounded by heavy monuments to war and industry. But the Cotswolds offer something entirely different.
The overarching synthesis drawn from the final reflections in the text is that the Cotswolds represent an unbroken, tactile connection to the past. But unlike a museum where history is kept behind glass, here, the history is written directly into the functioning landscape.
It's alive.
Yes. The hedgerows mapping the fields, the stone walls keeping the sheep in, the worn steps of the village crosses, these were shaped by centuries of daily human habit. The reason the region feels so deeply grounding is that it isn't trying to modernize or become something else to appease the tourist dollar. It is stubbornly, beautifully continuing to be what it has always been.
It just refuses to adapt to us, which forces us to adapt to it. It's brilliant. And the transcript doesn't leave us hanging. It teases the next destination on their English journey.
I'm excited for this next one.
Me too. Having completely reset their nervous systems in the rural countryside, the crew is heading to Oxford. We can expect a deep dive into the world of historic colleges, covered markets, the tranquil tradition of punting on the river, and centuries of fierce academic rivalry. It's an incredible pivot from the agricultural to the intellectual.
It will require an entirely different framework for exploration, but one that will hopefully still benefit from the slow, observant mindset cultivated in the Cotswolds.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up today, I want to give you, the listener, a final thought to mull over, building on that Cotswold secret.
Ooh, all right.
We just spent 20 minutes dissecting how the key to happiness in rural England is staying in one single village for an entire day, abandoning the frantic itinerary, sitting on a bench, and refusing to chase the next big attraction. Well, consider your own travel habits closer to home. What would happen if you applied that exact same psychogeographic mindset to your own hometown this weekend?
That's a great challenge.
What might you discover if you stopped trying to maximize your Saturday with errands across the city, stayed entirely within a 1-mile radius of your front door, and treated your own local coffee shop, park, and side streets with the curiosity, patience, and observation of a mindful traveler? Maybe the true art of slow travel isn't just reserved for the English countryside.